Stitch and Seam. I'm Pannon, and
I am Mercedes, aka Vermilion Fire.
Ooh, spicy. So anyway, this is a cosplay blog about hot topics in the cosplay community, advice, all kinds of things, whatever you guys want to talk to us about.
So we thought we'd do an introductory episode. So last week we did first cosplays ever, and that was fun, embarrassing stories.
Yes.
So
before we get started, though, a few things. If you guys want to send us in your cosplay horror stories, if you have some topics you'd like us to cover, or if you have just something you want some advice on, maybe, you can send it to us at cosplaystitchandseam@gmail.com.
or you can go to cosplaystitchandseam.com, and that's our blog website, and there's a contact form on there, and you can send us messages there or comment on our blog posts. We are always happy to answer questions, and always, if we don't have the answer to something, we usually know someone who does.
Or we'll make it up.
That's what cosplay's all about. You just make it up as you go.
I don't know what you're talking about. I am a professional in all things.
Right.
So anyway, let's get started.
Yeah, so, today we're talking about, what the blog is about, as well as introducing who we are as your hosts. And so, I'll start with, the blog stuff, because I started the blog.
No.
So, back in 2012, was it 2012? If I'm wrong, you'll see it on the blog. Anyways, I started the Cosplay Stitch and Seam as a way to showcase cosplayers and show off their work and whatnot, and it's now expanded into a podcast and blog and hopefully YouTube videos and Twitch and all sorts of fun tutorials and things. We got big plans. We'll see if they actually become big plans.
Big plans.
Big plans.
I think I remember in your early days being one of the people you asked to interview, and
yeah, you were one of the first
who
ones.
Who is this person?
Who is this person? I was like, you're my idol.
And now
you're just weird. No, I'm just kidding.
No, it's true. It's true.
No, it's a great, using a blog to, talk to other people and whatnot is a great way to meet people, especially if you're really shy or you think that they're really big and crazy cosplayers that you could never talk to. And now, you're in their apartment recording podcasts.
Mm-hmm. Well, the one thing that is true for just about any cosplayer that I've ever met is they love to talk about themselves. So here we are. So
that's how the blog started, and now I'm trying to make it into bigger things, and we'll see just how big those plans actually become, because we're also lazy.
No,
I am.
No, what?
Who? Anyways, so that's the introduction to the blog, just kind of behind the scenes of cosplay creation and the community and all that.
And I am an obnoxious hanger-on.
She's a very useful hanger-on. Very useful one. So, now we'll do individual introductions of who your hosts are. Who are your hosts? What are they doing? Why are they crazy? Just kidding.
What are they doing with that thing over there? Oh no!
So put that down, Pannon. Put it down. You cannot use that. Whatever that is. I can't even think of it.
There are a myriad of weapons in this very room, and you can't...
So Pannon, how about you introduce yourself?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So my name's Pannon. My cosplay Facebook is the Pannonators Pantastic Cosplay, because somebody took Pannon. And I use either Pannon or Pannonator on most social media, so you can find me there for Instagram on Pannon.
Are you the Pannonator?
The Pannonator? I am the Pannonator. Which, if any of y'all liked Trogdor, that's where I got it from, because it's Pannon, and then to be Pannon is to Pannonate. That is the verb form of Pannon.
I like it.
So I've been cosplaying since about 2001, and you heard about that story in our last episode. All the fun times at Conduit, which was one of the local conventions here. Since then, I didn't really know a lot about doing cosplay competitively. I had no idea how it worked. And as far as magazines and things like that, the internet even, there weren't a lot of articles that really talked about how to get into the competitive side of cosplay. I mean, at the time, there was cosplay.com, which had like a lot of advice in their forum that you could go to, but there just wasn't a ton at the time, so I just kind of like threw myself into contests willy-nilly because I thought I was funny. And
that's a good way to start.
Yeah, like the first contest I did, I won an award for the most chutzpah, which I had to go then look up what that meant.
Do I want to know what that means?
I mean, it's not a bad thing.
Okay.
It meant that we were very energetic on the stage, and they had no idea what we were talking about. We did a Yu-Gi-Oh! Skit. Since then, I kind of started to enter more into craftsmanship. I think I was telling Mercedes about this outside of the podcast before, but the first time I entered for craftsmanship, I didn't really know what it was. And I had put together Sora from Kingdom Hearts 2 and done all the like piping and made his jacket and the stupid puffy pants and like the shoes and the wig.
Those puffy pants.
And it was ridiculous, and made the Keyblade out of like paper mache. And I went to this craftsmanship judging because the contest I was at required it, and I was like, I don't know what you want me to say. So I just kind of, like, they asked me questions and I answered them, and then I left. And I was like, well, that was weird. I don't know. I just wanted to, like, do a stupid skit. Why did they ask me about that stuff? And then I went to the contest.
I don't need to know how I put this together.
Yeah. Well, and then I went to the contest just, because I like to watch the contests. And I, went on stage, did my bit, got off the stage and watched the rest. And, there were really cool costumes in the contest, and I was looking at them going, I'm not expecting to win anything. So, me being a jerk, I was sitting next to my friends as they were doing the awards, and they started saying all these lovely, nice things about this person who had won. And I was sitting there next to my friends sarcastically preening and going like, oh yes, that's me. That's definitely something that I did. And then they called my name, and I felt like a huge douchebag. And
that's so beautiful.
And I was like, oh, they meant those things, and I was mocking them, and now I feel like a heel. And I should have felt like a heel. But I was dressed as Sora, so, when they asked me what I was going to do after winning, I said I'm going to Disneyland, football meme. Anyway, I'm old, okay? Anyway, and so that kind of got me interested in, you can actually win awards because you made something good, and not just because it looked pretty on stage. Because they did get up really close and examine all the seams and look at all the, like, handmade stuff I had put into this costume, and, like, I sculpted my jewelry, and I took time to learn how to do piping, and I did all this bias tape work, and did all these buckles and belts, and they thought that was pretty cool. So that kind of got me started, and I don't know, after that, I was kind of looking to find more like-minded people who wanted to get into cosplay with me. It was a little while after that I was in the anime club at the local college. I can't remember if we talked about this before, but the college anime club was called The End of the World after Utena. And I eventually became president of The End of the World, which was a great title to put on any business card. And so we were kind of going back and forth about, like, wanting a convention in Utah because we had to go out of state for basically anything.
Anything anime related.
Anything anime related, exactly. Thank you. And since anime was kind of like my thing, I was discussing it with these other members of the presidency and going, we have all these conventions everywhere else. Why don't we have one here? And we were like, well, because no one got off their butts and made it. So we went, well, we're going to get off our butts and make it. So I got to be one of the founding members for Anime Bonsai, which is
so cool.
One of the anime conventions here in Utah.
Anime Bonsai was my first con.
Aw, little baby Mercedes. But yeah, that kind of got me started with a lot of like-minded people who were into cosplay, or at the very least into anime. And from there, at Anime Bonsai, I actually met a lot more cosplayers. And after one of the conventions, I was talking to a cosplayer. She goes by a pastel colored cosplay. She wanted to put together a cosplay group. And I only really got to get together to meet about cosplay once in a while And with doing a cosplay group, I got to meet, maybe once or twice a week with these people who also liked sewing and making things. And I was really excited about that. And we formed this group, XD Cosplay DX, which we had I think we lasted for about 7 years. And if you were there in the early years of Bonsai, you may have seen some of our embarrassing and some of our pretty okay skits.
I did. I was very much like, that's cool, they have a whole group for this kind of thing. I don't know if I could ever do that. That's crazy. That's so much dedication.
Yeah.
And it was, you guys put on like some really big like halftime shows for the Bonsai's cosplay contest and things like that. Yeah, we usually do like a halftime or a performance, and then most of the members also helped run a lot of the events at Bonsai, like cosplay chess and battle cosplay were originally brought by members of that club, and then kind of built and expanded upon from there, which I thought was really cool. And you don't see much of those like big groups like that anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to like maintain. It's hard to have people that are, that devoted. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I was lucky in that we had a lot of really amazing people, very talented, who were willing to put in a lot of hard work to make things happen. A lot of it's about compromise too, because, you're dealing with a lot of personalities, a lot of different attitudes toward cosplay and which roles people get to play and things like that. So, I think as far as groups go, we had a really good run and it was a lot of fun. And then after we kind of began to wind down, I really wanted to get more into competitive cosplay because I had still done competitions here and there on the side for this and that, and sometimes with members of that group. But I wanted to get a little bit more serious about competition. It wasn't until probably, I can't even remember what year it was, but it was at Anime Los Angeles, and I was doing a skit with pastel-colored cosplay from Alice in the Country of Hearts, and we actually took Best in Show for both performance and for craftsmanship. Ooh. And yeah, which, considering the level of competition at Anime Los Angeles, I was kind of floored that it happened, let alone, but after that I was kind of like, there are some bigger competitions out there, and I'm really interested to see what other challenges I can put myself toward. And I found out about World Cosplay Summit. So I started...
The challenge of all challenges right there.
It's pretty intense.
Think of World Cosplay Summit as like the Olympics of cosplay.
Yeah, it's every country sends a delegate to Japan where they compete against basically everybody else. And it's a lot of fun. You make a lot of friends. You get to be a dork and celebrate being a dork around the world with everybody else. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that was when I got into WCS, which I want to say was around 2010, 2011. And like I said, it's an intense competition. Like, the US, I feel like almost more so than other countries, because we're a smaller country, it's still a decent competition. There's still amazing work going into it. But you're looking at the United States as a whole, and it's gigantic, and you're competing against everybody that made it to...
Didn't they have like 3 sets of preliminaries?
Yeah, they used to do some preliminary qualifiers, and then the people who won from those would make it to the finals. The first year we did it, there were so many people that dropped out last minute, because it's kind of scary. Yeah. That I think there were only 6 of us in the finals. That was the year Foxgloves made it with their amazing Holic skit, which you should definitely watch if you haven't seen it. And
if you want to see some really intense skits, watch World Cosplay Summit.
Yeah, and it was actually my first time competing with Garnet Runestar as my cosplay partner, and it was interesting to kind of get a feel for each other and how we work and how we compete and how we are both crazy. And
very crazy.
Wow.
You're welcome.
She's hiding in the room, judging us silently and menacingly in a chair. I know, I can feel it. We have worked together that long. I can feel the aura just wafting off.
Even with her back turned to us.
So yeah, that was kind of what started off our cosplay partnership, and since then we did...
We'll have to do like a full episode on like Cosplay Summit shenanigans. There's so much that
basically we did, it took us 4 years before we won the title of Team USA. So we won in 2014. Woo! And got to represent the United States in Japan and meet all the other amazing countries. And still stay friends with them on Facebook and social media and things like that.
It was really cool to follow that. Plus, like, I got to interview them and put that on my blog back when I was like, look at me, I'm a tiny blogger. Will you guys be interviewed for this and talk about World Cosplay Summit? And it was really cool.
And then when I got back from that, it was actually kind of cool because I got to use my portfolio to get a job with a company here that makes the mascots for Major League sports teams. Because of what they saw from my portfolio, they hired me on to build those mascots. So I made stuff for locally here for the Utah Jazz. I've like built the Jazz Bears stuff a couple times, done stuff for the Chicago Bulls, Miami Heat. I am embarrassed to say the New Orleans Pelican was my doing. But it looked just like the sketch they gave us, so I don't feel like I'm to blame on that one.
It's beautiful in an ugly way.
Yeah, so I'm honestly happy to field any questions about like costuming in general, but also like crazy builds like fursuits, which might be opening us up to some interesting questions, but we'll see. But
I attempted one of those once.
Yeah, they're a very unique way of building, and I think it really honestly helped me build my portfolio in a lot of really cool ways, because I took on some challenges later on that I never would have thought, doing just like fabric and props. Just recently, VFire and I were in a skit at Anime Los Angeles again this year, where we also took Best in Show. But we did Breath of the Wild, and she did Zora outfit for Link, which was really cool, and I did Prince Sidon with all the giant fish hat and fake muscles.
And I am not tall, and Pannon is very tall, and also were platforms, and it was beautiful.
Yeah. So what I learned from making mascots really helped me in that build, because I got to build like a fake sort of body and a fake headpiece and things I never would have been able to learn how to do if not for that. So then we, Garnet Runestar and I were looking for other ways and places to compete that do international stuff. And we also did the C4 or Clericow Cosplay Cup competition out in the Netherlands, where we got to represent once again as Team USA. So that was a lot of fun.
Always looking to one up your guys' game, and it's so crazy what you guys do every time.
Yeah, just gotta keep it fresh and have fun. And so then now I actually also still work in textiles and sewing, design sort of stuff. I work for a company that's also local here, and we make fancy gowns for photography. If you ever catch a glimpse of the photo shoot I did that was like a Bohemian Sailor Moon set we had all the characters. I made all the dresses for that, and that's kind of the look of the dresses that I make for a living. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. What can I say? In all that time, what are my stats? Like, I have made...
How many costumes?
Almost 300. I think I'm just past the 250 mark.
I am not.
My goal, and that's just specifically for me. I'm not counting closet cosplays. I'm not counting stuff I've done for commission. I'm just counting stuff that I've done.
Just done a crazy amount of work. How many do you do in about a year? Like, what's your average?
On a slow year, I'd say 15. On a good year, probably 25.
Good grief.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I can maybe do 3 in a year.
Yeah, but they're 3 really good ones. And then in that time, I've probably won about, like, I went through and counted, and I think it's over 60 awards nationwide, and then, a few international titles and things like that. So I feel, I don't know, like I'm trying, it's one of those things where I don't like to be braggy, but I'm like, if you have questions, I want to help you.
Yeah.
So that's me.
She has the experience. Now suddenly my, how many did we count, Sadie? 18?
I mean,
now 20 with ALA.
And
but
how many years have you been doing it?
Not as many as you.
Not as many, yeah. So.
Yeah. But no, it's like, I feel so humbled right here.
Costumes or awards?
Awards.
Okay.
Yeah.
The awards, sorry, I was talking about the awards, not the costumes. The costumes, I think I've done, I don't know actually how many costumes I've made. Oh, I might be sitting around the 50 mark.
I mean, that's a lot of costumes.
Yeah.
You have to realize that, when I got into costumes, a lot of the ones I was making really fast were in that same bracket as the ones I was telling you about from my first con, where they were, like, not very complicated, they were not very well made, but, you know, I still counted them because I made them.
Mm-hmm. They definitely still count. Those beginner costumes are near and dear. I just recently had someone take one of my first Link costumes and edit it into a really cool poster. I saw
that, yeah.
I was like, oh, that's so cool. I'll have to show you, Sadie. I haven't shown you yet. I need to show you this poster. No. Oh, yes, okay. No, that is actually what birthday cake thing. The tunic got birthday cake on it because I accidentally dumped it on myself when I was going to a birthday party as Link for a little kid turning 4.
See, I just thought maybe you, like, rolled into it. Just like, hot!
No, I was holding the cake and then accidentally dumped it on myself at the last, like, as I was, like, getting into the car, and I was like, ugh. So that was the last time I ever wore that tunic.
Sad.
It wasn't a great tunic.
So give me a timeline of Vermilion Fire.
Alright, Vermilion
since
Fire.
You had to listen to my life story.
My cosplay life story now. So I started in 2008.
I feel like we need a theme song. My cosplay life story.
That was really bad. Okay. So I started in 2008. Never would have touched a sewing machine.
So this is your 10-year cosplay-versary.
Yeah! I'm so excited. I gotta do some fun stuff.
You've done some cool ones already.
Yeah. I mean, I'm humble.
Humble.
I mean, I'm pretty proud of what I've made. It's not as much as, like, I'm not very, like, I don't make a ton of costumes in a year, but I work really hard on the ones that I do work on.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I love the creation process. So I started in 2008, and I started off competing right away. My friend, Jez, she's amazing, and I credit her for a lot of things, like making me super uncomfortable and all that stuff. I mean, we talked about her a little bit in the last episode.
Right, yeah. I remember Jez from, like, the early years of Bonsai. She was one of the first people to show up to the convention back when it was at the college. And
yeah.
I remember that. She
was a heavy competitor, too, back then. Like, she really loved the stage stuff. She taught me a lot for stage. She taught me a lot for craftsmanship. And then just kind of was like, okay, go on your way now. Try and do it now. And I did. And I failed horribly at first. Yeah, I started at Anime Bonsai, my first contest. I didn't enter craftsmanship, but I sat in on it to watch Jez, because she was entering craftsmanship. So I kind of learned from her about, like, how to present stuff to judges and whatnot. And then we went on stage and we did a Cowboy Bebop, Full Metal Alchemist, there we go. Cowboy Bebop, Full Metal Alchemist crossover.
Those good old crossover skits.
It was beautiful. But yeah, I got to be Ed from Cowboy Bebop. I love her. She's adorable. I had 3 Mountain Dews that day.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So probably one of my best performances ever. I'll never top that.
Okay.
But yeah, about 2011. So like I competed a lot. I did not do well. But yeah, like there was like a couple instances that like could have made or broken me. Like my first time competing completely by myself, which actually meant me dragging my siblings along because I was like, guys, you need to check out this thing I discovered. Again, I would have never touched a sewing machine.
So which contest was the first one that you competed at?
Bonsai.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Bonsai was
by yourself.
By
was
myself.
That also Bonsai?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Which outfit was that?
Tsubasa. I was Faye, and my siblings were Sakura and Kurogane.
Yeah. Okay, I remember that.
Yeah. I thought I was so proud of that costume, and then Pannon here walked by in hers, and I was like, Faye.
Faye defluorite?
Faye defluorite.
Uh-huh.
Hers is amazing. Mine was
oh my goodness,
garbage, but I loved it.
I will.
Judging?
Yes.
Aw, I remember that.
Aww.
Were you judging at it?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay,
yeah,
so
yeah.
Melissa got to judge me.
Well, see, the funny thing
were
is...
you the one that turned and said, so are you really good with markers?
Yes.
Oh, no! That's not a question you want to hear. Oh.
No, seriously, I walked out of that going, I need to learn how to sew better because I don't want to hear, are you good with markers ever again?
I
No.
had a fever of 102. I was so sick that day. And so, like, everything was just a wash of, I don't even know.
My cloak, and I'm still really proud of this. Like, my cloak is probably my only, like, piece of cosplay I've ever successfully sold. But the cloak, I had the pattern on Fi's cloak is like blues that like fade into white and whatnot, and I didn't know how to do that with fabric, so I drew it on with marker.
Aww.
And I made like all the fading happen, because I love markers, I love drawing, but I just remember one of the judges, Melissa, going, "Are you good with markers? Are you good at drawing?" It's like,
but see, one of the next times we saw you was at Geeks, when you brought like your really cool... Oh, what was it? That was Ordon. No. Wander
from Shadow Colossus. Right. And that one was a joke. Like, I started that costume. So like, again, you guys, like, changed my life with what you told me after the contest.
Sorry.
They did. Yay, you did, okay? You changed my entire view.
I want to hear because I don't remember what stupid stuff I said.
Okay, so first of all, I made Wander from Shadow of the Colossus in 2011 for the Gaming and Electronics Expo, back when that was a thing here in Utah, as a joke to tease my friend Sadie. She all waves at me. She was playing Shadow of the Colossus because I'm obsessed with it, and therefore had to make my best friend play it as well to understand why I had all these feels for this video game. And so as a joke for the Renaissance Festival earlier that year, I started making the tunic to see if Sadie would feel like she was going crazy. So I made the tunic, and I was working on it actually when she came over to visit, and she's like sitting there talking with me, telling me about what she'd been doing in Shadow of the Colossus, and then she like stares at the tunic and goes, "Okay, am I crazy, or is that Wander's tunic?" And I go, "Yes, it is." This is Wander's tunic. And so since I'd made the just his shirt part, I was like, I might as well make the whole thing. And then Sadie is an amazing yard sell person, so we're out yard selling with her, and she's like, this person has a whole basket full of just like leather samples. Ooh. And
That's
I bet
a good find.
This is such a good find. And she's like, I bet I can talk them down from $50 to $20. And I was like, okay. And she did. She talked them down to $20, so I got all this leather for $20. And it was just like suede and like things for making bracelets, like really just small samples.
Right.
But it had enough of like different colors that I could use them for my Shadow of the Colossus cosplay. So I started like throwing those together. Had like mismatched buckles kind of thing, but like, I don't know, I put so much work into this. It was the first one. I even made the sandals.
I remember. That's the thing I remember the most, is that you were like, I made the sandals, and I was like, holy frick.
She brought a slideshow.
She did. Yes. She brought a slideshow.
Because that's how Jess had presented hers like one year, so I was like, I'm going to do a slideshow too.
No, it was super cute.
Yeah, and I took way too long in the judging room. But yeah, I'd made everything from like head to toe, like found a wig that matched as close as I could. I actually based it off of somebody else's cosplay. Because of the color of the wig, I'd get mistaken for this other really, really good cosplayer online, and I can't remember her name right off the top of my head. No, not Pikmin Link. The other Wanderer cosplays, she got pictures with a horse.
In Florida?
I think so.
Yeah.
I get mistaken for her, which was felt so amazing, because she's like, she put so much more work into hers. But like, I just felt honored. She inspired a lot of what I did on mine.
That's cool.
But yeah, so I took that to Geeks, and like entered and did this really extra long presentation. It went over time. I don't know, it was really cool. And that was like the first time that I'd met Garnet Runestar and Pannon before. I actually had Garnet Runestar in my phone as Zelda, because I couldn't remember her name.
I still have her in my phone as Zelda.
In like half the people's phones.
Yeah.
Because that was the first thing. Just so you guys all know, the way I organize people in my phone is by whatever they were wearing when I first met them. So for the longest time, Melissa's still Zelda in my phone. And
yeah, she's Melissa Zelda now, once I figured out what her actual name was.
I think I had like half of my friends in here as like Kingdom Hearts names and Final Fantasy, and I still do. I still have a bunch of them. Yeah.
So Mercedes Link in my phone.
Yay!
Mercedes Link.
Mercedes Link.
Is that like a really fancy car in Hyrule? Mercedes Link.
I will design it.
That's what the new horse Divine Beast is.
Heck yeah! There we go. Done.
Mercedes Link.
About your life-changing moment.
Yes, life-changing moment. So, up to this point, like, I had competed and I hadn't really won anything. Like, I tried really hard, but like, and I was self-taught. Like, again, the resources on the internet were very, like, there was not a lot on there, and so a lot of what I was doing was just winging it, figuring it out on my own. I had to teach myself how to use the sewing machine. Again, I'd never touched a sewing machine, would not have touched a sewing machine before I was introduced into cosplay, because that was a girl thing, and I was going to be a mechanical engineer.
Mercedes, no.
I know. Little did I know that I would graduate with an art degree.
I mean, nothing against engineering. That's a really cool thing, but, like, sewing is...
Yeah, no, sewing was for girls. Come on. Not. No, I love sewing now. Don't ask me to fix people's stuff, though. I'm really bad at, like, actually doing that.
Well, yeah. I don't even fix my own stuff. Are you kidding me?
So I go in for this contest, do my stuff on stage. Like, I can't remember who I asked. I think it was probably Jez. I was like, what do I do on stage? She's like, well, do these, like, 3 poses. You want to move around the stage here. And I was like, okay. So I went and I posed menacingly in 3 different spots on stage. And swung the sword around, even though I was like, he doesn't really fight with this sword, he just stabs rocks. So I did my thing on stage, came off, and then ended up taking home Best in Show for it. And I was, like, floored, because, like, when they announced, like, 3rd and 2nd place, I was like, those are amazing costumes. Like, those are so well done, they're really well put together, they're big builds that I wouldn't even know how to begin to try. And then I got announced as first, and I was like, what? And I, like, looked at my brother who was there with me, and I was like, no. And he's all like, yeah, it was you. And I was like, no.
It was you.
It was you. And then, so I went up to the judges afterwards, Garnett and Pannon, and was like, why did I win? I don't understand this. I never win. I never ever win. And they told me, they're like, your costume was so realistic. It didn't feel like a costume. It felt like something this character would actually wear. And I, like, grabbed onto that.
That explains a lot.
It does explain a lot.
You did this. Sorry.
Yes, this is all your guys' fault. So yeah, now I just try to make my costumes as realistic as possible. I try to make them as functional as possible. Don't always successfully do that. But, you know, I just try to make it feel real. Like they just walked out of the video game and this is what they would be in real life. And that's now, like, my thing. It's really hard for me to do super cartoony characters now, actually, because...
Yeah, I noticed a lot of your stuff is mostly video games or stuff that there's, like, a hyper-realistic reference for.
Yes, yeah, like, I love video game cosplay, but that's because, like, that's what my degree is in game development. I love video games. Nah, not at all. I mean, you sit me down and I will talk your ear off about anything and everything video games, let's not get into that. But, like, that's where most of my know come from, and, like, a lot of games, they love to do, like, this very, like, nitty-gritty, realistic look on things, and so I'll find those, I'll try and make them, and it's a lot of fun. I love it. I love working with leather, like, since doing that with the Wanderer for Shadow of the Colossus, I, like, soon after that, well, I did Word on Link after that. Word on Link was my intermediate costume competition piece. Which you guys also judged.
I did. Yep. At Anime Salt Lake.
Yeah, they did that at Anime Salt Lake, which I also took.
You did.
Did pretty good there, too.
You did.
I think that's, like, I barely knew these two then, and a lot of people were like, you always win when they're judging, and I'm like, well, I win at other places, too. And so I went and started competing at other places to show that, that it wasn't just, like, you guys picking me.
Well, I feel like there's, like, not to get off topic, but, like, I feel like there's often a misconception about, like, a costume has to be big for it to win Best in Show or to win awards. And there's so much that can be said for doing something simple, but doing it really cleanly, or doing techniques that involve a lot of, like, hands-on detail work where it's not necessarily, like, gluing a bunch of trims on, but it's, like, learning, like, a hand-weaving technique to, like, put on your shoes, or, like, embroidering a bunch of tiny stitches that never get seen, or, you know, going to great lengths to make your props out of wood and learning that as a handicraft so that you can...
There's a lot of different skills that you can be applying into a costume that isn't just making it look big and flashy.
Yeah.
And, like, with every costume that I've done, I've always tried and find something to really push my skills to a new level and try and learn something new and then do it as well as I can possibly do it, so that it's not just something I threw together really quick. Because I think that was one of the biggest problems with my early costumes, was that I would just throw them together really quick and they were just not well put together at all and fall apart. And
well, I feel like the mark of a master level cosplayer is that they have found places that they excel in, yes, like your woodworking or leather crafting and things like that, but they don't just leave it at one thing. They're not just like all foam armor all the time or something like that. They branch out and they want to master as many things as they can. And like, you may not necessarily learn something new with your build, but because you've learned all of these other things along the way, the combination of all that coming together makes for, something really beautiful and high level.
Yeah. Like, quick...
Sorry.
No, you're good.
Let me get off my soapbox.
Well, it's like another, like, quick, like, side note on that, like, so Pannon and I are very competitive cosplayers. We like to go and compete and whatnot. Like, for me, if I go to a convention and I'm not in the contest, it just feels like something really is lacking in my life.
Feel a little weird.
Yeah, something feels like it's missing. And it's not just like that I have to compete and I must go and beat people. No. It's not that.
No.
The green room is actually where it's at.
Yeah.
The green room is the behind the scenes. That's where they keep all the competitors behind stage. And that's where I love to be. That's where I thrive. I love talking with other people about how they made their stuff. I am a craft cosplayer. I like to build my stuff and I like to talk to other people who have built theirs.
It's like this concentrated learning environment because you see so many different techniques that you want to get your claws on, and you have the opportunity to talk to somebody who has mastered that up close, and you can just be like, hey, so
how did you make this? What did you do with that? Like, I love that so much, and that's what, like, when I was back cosplaying Ed for Cowboy Bebop and being in the green room, just being amazed by what was all around me and the amount of dedication people put into their costumes, the skills, the passion for their characters and all that, seeing that all in just one, like, place was so cool. So the green room is like, that is where it's at for me. But I do want to make it really clear that, like, anybody can cosplay whatever they want, whether they buy their costume or make it.
Definitely.
But as a competitor, we will talk a lot about how, like, we make things and, like, our passion for creating it. It doesn't mean that the other things are lesser.
No, not at all.
They're just not necessarily for competition, because, like, how else do you judge a competition without craftsmanship?
Right, exactly.
And performance, of course. But yeah, that was just, like, my little side note on that. I love the green room.
My little side note.
Wow. Pannon. Okay.
Sorry.
But yeah, so, Ordon Link and Princess Agatha, which my sister wore. My sister Alexis, like, she really...
She's like your dress-up doll.
She was my dress-up doll for a long time, actually. She really got into, like, the whole cosplay thing, and when I realized that I could not afford to dress up all my siblings, I latched onto her because she was closest.
This one is mine.
She was literally in the same room as me when I was living at home, so... Hey, Lexus, do you want to dress up as this character? But yeah, so Princess Agatha from Twilight Princess, and then my Ordon Link, those were both my intermediate competition pieces. And, like, I remember walking off the stage with Agatha and Garnet Runestar turning to me and going, now you're in Masters, and me going, dang. Because Masters is scary. So scary. And then my Sheik cosplay from Smash Brothers Brawl was actually my first Masters competition piece, and I took that to so many different competitions. Like, I just kept... Like, I kept pushing my skills more and more each time, and, like, and it was really cool talking to, like, other masters, because, like, when you get in the master class, like, everything doesn't just, like, go up a little bit. It goes up, like, 1,000%, as far as, like, skill levels and things like that go. Like, my first masters, like, competition was actually, at Salt Lake Comic-Con the first year that it was running. I don't even remember who was running that contest. It was interesting. But there were 4 masters total, and needless to say, I got 4th place.
Oh, wow!
The other 3 masters, like, so I done Sheik. It was my first time making leather armor, and I was really proud of what I'd put together. Like, I made actual leather armor, and then I custom printed a chainmail print.
I remember that.
Believe me, I now, whenever I go through Joann's and I see the chainmail print there, I go, well, back in my day, I had to custom print that myself.
All by myself.
Now I see it and I just kind of actually cry on the inside and go, oh, look at all the resources that are available now. Uh-huh. It's awesome that there's so many resources available now. But yeah, so I even like wefted my own wig up to a point, like I had an existing wig and I added wefts to it. I had never done that before.
Gasp.
Gasp indeed. I just put so much work into this. I even melted aluminum for the hairpiece that goes into over Sheik's braid. And that could be my horror story actually, because there's some funny horror things that happened when building that. But yeah, so just all this work I put into Sheik, and then I did not win at it, and it was okay that I didn't win, because I learned so much, but like it was just crazy how much work there. One of the guys who had entered, he had a leather vest, a leather jacket, leather pants, and I was like, and I thought I was doing great with leather. There was another girl there who had hand sewed like all these sequins and beads into like a flapper dress. It was gorgeous. Oh my gosh. And I can't remember the third master that was there. Those were the two that super stood out to me, because I was like, oh my gosh. After that I was like, okay, I still got to keep stepping this up a level. I thought I stepped it up enough, and I just like, well, let's keep stepping it up more. And I have definitely done so. I have found that I have spoiled myself with leather. Leather is kind of expensive to use, but it's a very forgiving material. And I find that it's very hard for me to try and use foam armor, because it just is not durable.
That's kind of nice, though, compared to a lot of cosplay art forms. Like, you look at wigs or you look at thermoplastics, and it's a very expensive, very steep sort of learning curve, whereas leather is a little more forgiving.
Yeah, it's a little more forgiving. It's got a little less of a steep learning curve. Like, once you start figuring out, like, oh, I just need to put the time in to make this look a certain way, you can do that. And if you're, like, working on it and it's not turning out how you want, well, just keep working at it a little bit more until it has that look. I mean, you can definitely overwork a piece.
Yeah.
Where, like, foam, and this is just me, a personal thing, I get very picky with foam. If it still looks like foam, then I will throw that piece away. And I want it to look like it's not made of foam. And then I also just very much dislike that, like, if I bump against something, even if I put, like, special coatings and things on it, it'll crack or it'll rip and tear just a little too easily for my taste. And it's probably my own fault for that, because I'm not particularly soft on my costumes.
Okay.
I mean, I hiked to Delicate Arch in a costume, and that probably would not be good for a foam costume, let alone comfortable.
Oops.
Yeah, so I'm not soft on my cosplays.
So where would your cosplay timeline put you at now? Or do you want to talk about, like, what brought you to now?
Well, I think that's, like, essentially, like, how I got to now. Like, I do a lot of judging now. Well, at least this year I am.
Fancy.
It feels very fancy. I really like it. I love judging. I know some people have a hard time with it, because it's hard to choose who did better in their craftsmanship than others. Like, there's a lot of tough decisions that come into it. But I love it because, like, you get these people coming in and they're, like, so excited to show you what they made. And they're nervous too, because they're like, oh my gosh, like, I have this thing that I call nervous peas.
The phantom pee.
The phantom pee.
The phantom pee.
Before you go into judging and before you go on stage, you have to pee suddenly.
And then when you get out, it's gone. But, like, there's no puddle on the stage. Where did it go? Why don't I have to pee anymore?
Nervous peas.
Phantom pee.
I love it.
So anyway, give me some Mercedes or VFire stats. Like, tell me, like, what's your top 3 favorite costumes? What's your favorite video game?
Okay. Well, favorite video game is Shadow of the Colossus, hands down.
Yes.
All of the Legend of Zeldas fight for the second spot. It's really hard to choose which one, because I have all these different reasons why I like each game. Second place is very much, like, there's definitely a Zelda there for the next, like, 10 places. I really like
your cosplays.
But as for cosplays, yes. I really think, okay, I think my number...
asking to choose your favorite child.
It really is, because of all the love I put into these things. I want to say Aloy is my first one right now, because Horizon Zero Dawn is an amazing video game. They did an incredible job with the character, like, design of who she is, as well as her looks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as soon as they, like, announced her, and plus they, like, super, like, encouraged, Guerrilla Games, like, super encouraged their fan base to be like, make this cosplay, here's a cosplay document, here's what all the materials are.
Ooh, we like that. We like that a lot.
Love it so much. Like, I pored over, like, that document for forever, and then ended up going with a different armor set from the game. But I mean, that's how it goes. You find an armor set that you love, and you're like, I have to make this. So yeah, Aloy I made in 1 month of insanity. Because Denver Comic-Con, which is a convention that I always wanted to go to and always wanted to compete at, and last year it was on my birthday.
Aww.
So it had to happen, and it had to happen with Aloy because I love Aloy. So that is why Aloy is probably my number one top one. And then I also, like, took home first place, which was, you know, just a cherry on top. There's still a lot of other substance there, but I mean, like, on my birthday, I took home first place Masters. Like, that's awesome. No, I was super, super thrilled. Yeah, I love Aloy. I also got to... that's the one that I hiked to Delicate Arch to get photos with, because, like, as soon as we found out that Delicate Arch was in the game, we're like, we gotta make this happen. Like, that's just in our backyard, essentially. Let's go.
Yes.
And then I'd say second would probably be... I want to say a tie between Sheik and my new Wander cosplay.
Okay.
Because I've made Wander twice. I decided to see how far my skills had gone in, you know, from the time I first made the Wanderer to, at that time, I think it was like a 5-year gap. So I just wanted to see how much more I could push the costume, and plus they were announcing the new PS4 version was coming out, so I was using all references from the PS3 version, and now that the PS4 one is out, I'm like, I gotta remake it again. There's new details, there's things that were not there before. They changed his design a little bit, and it's beautiful, and I love it, and I want to do it again.
Yep.
Gotta love remakes. Yeah, because, like, again, Shadow of the Colossus is my favorite video game, and then also that costume just has so many details that I just love to put into it. And also was the first time that I took Best in Show at Anime Bonsai, which again is that was my first convention I ever went to. That convention meant a lot to me. Still means a lot to me, and that's not past tense. It means a lot to me. Anime Bonsai means a ton to me. That convention has done so much for me growing up as a person as well as a cosplayer. So when I got Best in Show with that, I cried on stage, like girl sobbed. It was beautiful.
It's definitely one of my favorite parts about judging is, like, especially here locally, because I help out as head judge with Anime Bonsai every year. I get to see these cosplayers growing and changing and improving through the years, and just seeing how much work they put in to make improvements, to build themselves a greater range of skills, to refine the skills that they have is just so... It's like I can't imagine what having kids is like, but it's a little like just being like, oh, look at them growing up, they're so good. And these are full-fledged adults I'm talking about, so I promise it's not in a condescending way. I'm very proud of them.
Yeah, and then there's also Sheik, because Sheik is awesome, and I put a lot of work into that, and that one, again, it went to quite a few places and did not win, and so I kept pushing my skills to make it better and better every time, and ended up, you know, eventually being able to win something with it. And so Sheik was probably one of my biggest works in progress. I spent 9 months, like an actual baby.
Sheik baby.
Sheik baby. Refining and perfecting that costume, so...
Nice.
Yeah, I think that's the longest I've ever worked on a cosplay. But yeah, how about you? What are your top 3 out of your over 250 cosplays?
See, 2 of them I'm gonna pick just because they are just dear to my heart, and I love the characters. The first one is obviously my Princess Serenity Sailor Moon cosplay, which I just love and adore her. I look up to Sailor Moon as a character, but also, you know, from the time you're little, you're like, princess dress, and I always loved that she was a princess, but she fought, you know, and not just like physically able to defeat her enemies, but she also was someone who loved other people, and that was never seen as a weakness. It was seen as something that made her strong, and I just always really looked up to and appreciated those things about her. And so it was really special to me to be able to cosplay her, and I always love doing Sailor Moon cosplays, so Princess Serenity for sure. I also cosplayed Fide Fluorite from Tsubasa.
Hers was way better than mine.
No, we're not in a contest, so we're not comparing them.
That's true. We don't need to do that, but still.
So, he is another character that I don't know, I was going through some hard things, and he felt very relatable to me, in that, like, he really tried to, like, help other people smile and help them through their hardships and things like that, and just always had a nice thing to say about other people, and I liked that about him. I also have a thing, I guess, for cosplaying tragic blondes with... So, yeah, and, you know, with anything Clamp, it is crazy and detailed and ridiculous, and it was also one of the first costumes that I really put my all into competing with. I had, you know, won a couple of things as a beginner, and so when I entered this one, I had put this probably like 3 months of work into it, and I also made my Kurogane's costume. I made all our props and staffs and rehearsed for weeks our thing, and like entered as a beginner because I had only won as a beginner, and they immediately bumped me to Masters where we took first place, and I was kind of floored, and it's just always been real special to me.
You people that get bumped.
I know, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
And then my third one, I would probably just say technically, like as far as technical skills, I would say Nozomi, that I competed in the Netherlands with, because it just has so many things that I have learned over the years to, you know, refine and build into what made that costume. Like, I learned how to digitally edit files so that they can be printed on clothing or fabric. I learned how to do, like, hand applying sequins. There's over 20,000 sequins I applied one at a time on that costume. I learned about patterning and fit and corsetry, and that's all in there. I learned about wig styling and thermoplastics, and that's all in there. And I don't know, there's like hat making, and there's props, and there's so much to it. It's one of those that it's really hard to see unless you're like up close to the costume, but there's just so much work and technical skill that went into it, so I'm really proud of that one.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I just remember what my third place would be.
Oh?
It's not one that's like terribly technical. Like, it was a lot of skill, like, changes that I put into it, but I think it was more performance-wise.
Mm-hmm.
So first place would be Aloy, second place would be Sheik/Wander, third place would be Sayaka. So Madoka Magica, that one started, like, part of that is because, like, my best friend Sadie got to be Octavia for that, and she got to build that costume, and she was so happy to, like, build something for once. Because she's usually my helper kind of thing, and, like, she got to be a part of the skit more than just being behind the scenes and all that.
That's good.
And that was a big reason for it. And then the other one was that, like, I really, like, tried to be Sayaka on stage.
Aww.
Like, I worked hard on, like, the performance part of it, and really conveying emotion and all that, and not making it cheesy, because that's why I usually don't do well on performance unless I'm doing something stupid, like funny stuff.
You guys did a really good dramatic skit that year.
Yeah, I made you cry.
Yeah, I did. I did, like, 10 seconds into the skit, I was just already like... That was all I needed right there. Yeah, so I wanted to quickly add that in there. Nice. Lots of cosplays that we have near and dear. So that's kind of the story of our cosplay lives. Holy crap. I was going to go into more details, but we're almost at like an hour.
Yeah, I think that's probably plenty of time to listen to us talk about ourselves.
So are you ready for some cosplay horror stories?
Yes, cosplay horror stories.
Do you want to go first? Sure. I want to hear it.
Yeah.
Tell me.
So my cosplay horror story. So this will go along with what I mentioned earlier was Chic. Chic I actually did real metalworking on. Like, I actually melted aluminum, put it into a lost foam cast, then polished it up and used that for the hairpiece that sticks on with a magnet to the back of my wig. And then it wraps around the braid, and, like, it's really cool. I'm really proud of it. But when I was actually making it, I ran into a problem that could have been very, very dangerous.
Oh no.
So my husband and I were looking up ways to melt the aluminum, and found out what temperature it needed to be at, what kind of oven we needed. Turns out that a friend of ours had an oven that could do that in his workshop. So we went over to his workshop, started melting stuff. My husband went first, so Chris, because I had made 3 foam casts that we could use and kind of mess with, and that way, one of them should turn out right from 3, right? So he set up the first one, and then pulled out the very, very hot aluminum, poured it in, and then we waited for it to cool, and we pulled it out, and we're like, okay, that's cool. Chris is like, you want to do the next one? I'll film you doing it, so you can show the judges of you pouring it. And I was like, oh, sweet, that'd be really cool.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
Sounds like a great idea, yes. So I'm pulling the aluminum out of the hot oven, getting ready to pour it, and I dropped the bucket of aluminum, hot aluminum, on myself.
Oh no.
So it's really funny because...
Is it funny?
It is really funny. It is really funny, because online, they said, if you're doing this, make sure you wear pants. I was the only one wearing pants that day. My friend and my husband were both wearing shorts. Yeah, so I was wearing pants like I, read that I should do. Anyway, so the aluminum hit my pants, and luckily the aluminum was way hotter than it it was much hotter than it needed to be, so it did not cool down enough to solidify on my pants, so it just slipped off like liquid and hit the ground. But it's really funny in the video because you see me coming, pulling it out and then going and running off screen, because that's what I do when something bad happens to me. Is there's this fight or flight thing. I run. So I run away. In one of the frames, if you pause it, in one of the frames you can actually see my shoe is on fire.
No.
Anyways, I run away and I stop and I look at myself. I'm like, oh, I'm fine. I'm good. That was all right. And the weight of the situation hit me when my friend and husband both hugged me. And I was like, oh, I could be going to the hospital right now.
And it just took that long to dawn on you that...
It did.
Oh!
So,
that was maybe bad.
I almost burned myself with super hot aluminum. Yeah, anyways, we actually have the pieces that cooled on the ground as souvenirs from that.
Oh my goodness.
I don't remember where my piece went, but my husband has one of the longer pieces up on his desk at work. Underneath a thing that says, accidents happen or something like that. Oh my gosh. Next to it is actually a bottle, a broken, exploded bottle. That was his accident.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, he had a water bottle explode on him once. That was fun. So those both sit together. Both are oopses.
Both oopses. Oopses. Very nice.
Very nice. But yeah, so, needless to say, my husband poured the last one. Because I wouldn't touch it after that.
Wear pants.
Wear pants, safety first. There's always look up what the safety restrictions are. So, your turn.
Oh boy. So, I'm going to talk about one where I'm just really good at injuring myself doing costume stuff.
I'm also.
I know, totally surprised and shocking coming from us.
We should just have an injury episode.
So this, yeah, I know, right? Just count them all. So this was when I still did the cosplay group with XD Cosplay DX, and we were doing a Sailor Moon themed event as part of it, and we really wanted to learn the one of the songs from the Sailor Moon musicals called Lost Soldier, and it's a really cute dance, and we got all the people to play all the Sailor Senshi, and I was really excited about it, and so at home I learned all the steps to this dance. And went to go practice it and show everybody, and there's a little hop jump bit, and I twisted my ankle really badly.
No!
And I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm still gonna teach people and just pretend to do the movements with my hands so you know how the feet go and whatnot.
Aww.
And so I'm doing okay, and the next week we went to go practice, and I had wrapped my ankle and it felt better because I'd only lightly twisted it and it was fine. And so I was doing it along with everybody else. And I was like, okay guys, we're going to do it one more time and I'm going to show you this one part and we have to do it all together. And I did it again and I sprained my ankle. So I wasn't allowed to practice it for several weeks. And so right before the event, I was, like, so carefully, like, doing it in slow motion. And, like, I swear, everyone in the group, like, when we did it on stage, because I had to do it in these, like, white Sailor Moon high heels, and everyone was just staring at my feet going, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. I didn't do it on stage, but I managed to sprain it at least twice.
That's pretty adorable.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Ouch.
Ouch. Alright, well that's it for today's episode.
If you have your own horror stories you'd like to share with us, or you just want some cosplay advice, you want us to cover an important topic, you can contact us at cosplaystitchandseam at gmail.com.
Or you can go to the website, cosplaystitchandseam.com, and you can message us there. You can comment on the blog posts, you can message us with the form in the sidebar there.
We now have a Facebook group, Cosplay Stitch and Seam, just on the Facebooks, the Book of Faces.
Come join it. Tell us who you are.
Last week, we talked about our first cosplays, so tell us about what yours was. This week, obviously, we talked about ourselves.
We're like, hi! We want to know who you are, so why don't you
Come
introduce yourself? Tag your page, promote your page. We're totally fine with that. Come and just go crazy with that.
We need to know who you are so we can interview you properly.
We have links for the Facebook page and other resources for the Cosplay Stitch and Seam in the show notes.
Yeah, so click it.
Click it.
Click it. Until then, if you got seam problems, I feel bad for you, son. I got 99 problems, but a stitch ain't one. Good night. Our episode was edited by David Jeffress of Dungeons and Chill.
And mad props to the music from Macy. We're totally fine with that. Come and just go crazy with that.
We need to know who you are so we can interview you properly.
Well, that makes that intimidating. My gosh! I swear to you, Pannon is not as scary as she sounds.
I am. People think I'm intimidating.
Well, it's because you're tall. I don't look intimidating because I'm short.